This is an experiment. We shall see how it works. I've decided, you're going to probably have to read some William Shakespeare sometime in high school, whether you like it or whether you don't. And chances are, I don't know, okay. You'll start off and you don't, and then the more you get into it, the more you realize, this dude really knew a lot. And the first thing that they'll want to introduce you to is this little teenage romance story called Romeo and Juliet. And of course, it's kind of a tragic story. I believe it's one of the tragedies. I, well, it's probably still associated with the Globe Theater, but hey, whatever. Let's read the darn thing. And this is Shakespeare was like late 16th century, early 17th century. Charles and Mary Beard would have been probably a century later. Shakespeare's reputation was still going strong, and I think Charles and Mary Beard wanted to keep it that way, even though the Elizabethan English that Shakespeare used was becoming more and more obsolete and becoming the standardized English language that the world uses today almost. At any rate, this is from Charles Mary Beard way back then, and they are describing, in their own words, they're just telling the story of Romeo and Juliet, and I'm going to read it to you. It's not that long. The two chief families in Verona were the rich Capulets and the Montagues. There had been an old quarrel between these families, which was grown to such a height, and so deadly was the enmity between them, that it extended to the remotest kindred, to the followers and the retainers of both sides, insomuch that a servant of the house of Montague could not meet a servant of the house of Capulet, nor a Capulet encountered with a Montague by chance, but fierce words and sometimes bloodshed ensued, and frequent were the brawls from such accidental meetings, which disturbed the happy quiet of Verona's streets. Old Lord Capulet made a great supper, to which many fair ladies and many noble guests were invited. All the admired beauties of Verona were present, and all comers were made welcome if they were not of the house of Montague. In this feast of Capulets, Rosalind, beloved of Romeo, son to the old Lord Montague, was present. And though it was dangerous for a Montague to be seen in an assembly, yet Benvolio, a friend of Romeo, persuaded the young lord to go to this assembly in the disguise of a mask, that he might see his Rosalind, and seeing her, compare her with some choice beauties of Verona, who, he said, would make him think his swan a crow. Romeo had small faith in Benvolio's words. Nevertheless, for the love of Rosalind, he was persuaded to go, for Romeo was a sincere and passionate lover, and one that lost his sleep for love and fled society to be alone, thinking of Rosalind, who disdained him, she did, and never requited his love with the least show of courtesy or affection. And Benvolio wished to cure his friend of this love by showing him diversity of ladies in company. To this feast of Capulets, then young Romeo, with Benvolio, and their friend Mercutio, Romeo, Benvolio, and Mercutio, went masked. These are all friends. Old Capulet bid them welcome, and told them that ladies who had their toes unplagued with corns would dance with them. And the old man was light-hearted and merry, and said that had he worn a mask when he was young, and could have told a whispering tale in a lady's ear, what? And they fell to dancing, and Romeo suddenly struck with the exceeding beauty of a lady who danced there, who seemed to him to teach the torches to burn bright, and her beauty show by night like a rich jewel, worn by a blackamoor, beauty too rich for use, too dear for earth, like a snowy dove trooping with crows, he said. So richly did her beauty and perfection shine above the ladies her companions. While he uttered these praises, he was overheard by Tybalt, nephew of Lord Capulet, who knew him by his voice to be Romeo. And this Tybalt, being of a fiery and passionate temper, think of Firebolt, Tybalt, could not endure that a Montague should come under the cover of a mask to fleer and scorn, as he said, at their solemnities. It's supposed to be a party, I thought. And he stormed and raged exceedingly, and would have struck young Romeo dead. But his uncle, the Lord Capulet, would not suffer him to do any injury at that time, both out of respect to his guests, and because Romeo had borne himself like a gentleman, and all tongues in Verona bragged of him to be a virtuous and well-governed youth. Tybalt, forced to be patient against his will, restrained himself, but swore that this vile Montague should at another time dearly pay for this intrusion. We'll call that the end of episode 1, season 1 of Charles and Mary Beard. In this particular year, or whatever, the series is called Romeo and Juliet. It takes place in Verona, Italy, 1500s, I suppose. There really is a Juliet's balcony in Rome, or pardon me, in Verona. Check it out on Google. At any rate, we'll be back later with episode 2 of Romeo and Juliet. Bye-bye.